Hi, welcome. It's Jackie from Cambridge Safety. Welcome to one of our Take 5 videos in relation to take 5 minutes for a specific health and safety topic. So in this one, we're just going to have a quick potted tour in relation to home working. Home working, is it out of sight, out of mind? So yeah, you're working away, you don't get any contact with other people, you maybe seem to think that you're sort of hidden. So home working can have some advantages, but it can have some disadvantages and issues as well. So, in terms of legal issues, we as an employer still owe a common law duty of care to our employees, even if they're working at home. We are not personally responsible for the condition of their house, but we are in relation to, working conditions and length of time and not having breaks and that sort of thing. So there can still be negligence issues if someone either gets ill or injured. We've got our lovely Health and Safety at Work Act. We owe a duty to our employees, so far as is reasonably practicable: safe place of work, safe working environment, safe systems of work, training, supervision. All of those apply even if you're working from home. We may do it in a slightly different manner in terms of meeting it, but it still applies. Management of health and safety at work regs, the requirement to do a suitable and sufficient risk assessment. That again still applies if employees are working at home, as does the requirement to take appropriate control measures and lower risks as low as is reasonably practicable. Most of us, not necessarily all, but most of us are going to be using some form of electric equipment, so display screen equipment, whether it's laptop, desktop, palm top, etc. So if it's a desktop computer or people are habitually using computers, it's going to be covered by the display screen equipment regs. Remembering that laptops are not covered by the display screen equipment regs because they're not designed for habitual long-term use. Manual handling, if people are sort of having to move items when they're working. Electricity at work regulations, making sure our equipment is safe. Again, we are not responsible for your entire electrical system in your home, but we do have issues if your electrics are not safe, and that puts you at risk and the equipment that you're using at risk. So some of the regulations do equally apply if we're working from home. And the only exception is the workplace health, safety and welfare regulations. The requirement of those regulations doesn't apply at home. It would do if you're in a fixed place of work. So home working might work for some people, but it can have, it could be good for your mental health in terms of giving you a respite. Maybe you're not as one who's happy working with close proximity to others, but it could impact on your mental health positively. But it could equally impact negatively. You might feel more social isolation. You might feel that you're not getting good communication. You're not being included in things that other people are. So, are you getting the support? And companies need to think about how that support can be organised. Equally, for promotion opportunities, if there are promotion opportunities, do you feel they're still available to you if you're home working? So again, it's not that out of sight, out of mind, and the people that go in the office are the ones that get promoted. The use of new technology, again, laptops, desktops, other technology, but even software now in terms of tracking people, your working hours, these types of things. So have you got the training? Have you got the resources you need to work safely and effectively? Are there any financial constraints? So on one hand, it might be great not having to go to the office every day, but equally, if you're at home, you might then end up having your heating on, which once upon a time might not have been a problem, but now with the cost of energy, that's perhaps a lot more. You might have only had the heating on a few hours, but you're having heating on, more. Do you lose benefits and other things like that because you're working from home? Equally, have you got somewhere where you can actually work effectively? If you are like this lady here, balanced on the sofa with her laptop, that is not a correct, suitable workstation if you're working on a daily basis. So home working, we've got some hazards, things with the potential to cause harm, and some risks, severity and likelihood of the outcome of that hazard. So it could be lack of space. It could be like the picture here, being stared at by your dog, cat, or other animal, and they may interrupt you. Might be poor ergonomics because of that. Unsuitable display screen equipment workstation, i.e. you haven't got a workstation, you've got it on your lap or the kitchen table. That can cause long-term sort of issues with your wrists and neck and that type of thing. What's the condition of your electrical system and wiring? Have you got enough sockets to plug in your equipment? What about fire safety issues? Are you leaving the items of equipment on where they could then overheat? Equally, what's the working hours? Do you have set working hours, or is it home working? You can be a little bit more flexible, and it can work well. We just need to go into it with our eyes open from an employer and an employee perspective. What is expected of us? Breaks or lack thereof. You might find actually people sometimes homework work longer because they're actually at home, and they also more feel guilty that they feel they need to be in and logged in and working longer. But also because you are at home, you may then feel, oh, I actually go up and check some messages, do some work in the evening. So you're actually working longer hours. Now, this little bit of research here, it's a little bit old now, but it is true, it is valid. So working at home might not be the safest option. If you can see here, there's a 1 in 40,000 chance of dying in 1 year in an accident at work, but 1 in 10,000 chance of dying an accident in your home. So these are not the statistics that you like to see. And having worked in a hospital, I can tell you over bank holidays, that's where we definitely get a rush where everyone does some DIY and then gets themselves injured as well. Okay, so managing the risk, we can do it. We need, though, good recruitment and selection. Not everybody is suitable for home working. People might want to opt for it because they perceive it's the easy option, but it's not. So look at the job design. What type of jobs can people do? What tasks can they do? And it's then being fair, setting the guidelines so people know, what's the expectation of signing in the morning? What are the working hours, taking breaks? What if they need to take the children to school? Is that okay? And it's just about being upfront and what's the expectation? What about school holidays? What if children are in the building when you're trying to work? Equally, it's about maintaining, some contact with others. That might be by phone these days, by Zoom or Teams or conference calls, or you might have to go into the office once a week or once a month to maintain that contact, because people are social beings. They need an element of contact with others. And whatever people say, it's not the same. If you're in the room with somebody, you can have some far better, meaningful conversations than via Teams or Zoom or any other electronic medium. Equally, just going to the coffee machine and maybe having a chat with somebody, you have those sorts of conversations, which can be about work, but other things as well. Whereas when you're at home, you're very much shut off. You've not got that other communications mean. Equally, as I say, if someone is working at home and that doesn't work out, what are we going to do? Let's make sure that we've got a management route to deal with it. Can we bring them back into the office? Can we do more hybrid working? Supervision, you haven't got your supervisor sitting next to you, but there still needs a degree of supervision. One, to make sure people are working as they should, but also giving people support. People may not like to ask, they may not want to pick up the phone or do a conference call. Whereas if you were in the office, you could just walk over to somebody and say, oh, can you just help me out on this particular issue? What training do people need, not just in the job, but in the technology as well? And it could also be stress management, mental health, managing your time, that type of thing. We've still got some requirements, even if people are working from home, as I said, under the Management of Health and Safety at Work regulations, to do suitable and sufficient risk assessment. So you might have a slightly different template for doing a home worker risk assessment, including any display screen equipment that they're going to be using. Equally, IT is a great thing when it works, but it doesn't always. So again, is there provision of IT support that people can then ring up or email or get contact when things are not going as well as they should? So practical controls, as I say, people shouldn't be, contrary to my picture, they shouldn't be using a laptop for habitual work. We need a desktop computer or a laptop with a docking station. They might need a printer, so because sometimes we still sometimes do need to print things out. Not everything perhaps is possible to be wireless or in the cloud. It sounds silly. A desk, a table. Kitchen tables are not at the right height for computers normally, and your hard kitchen chairs are definitely not good for sitting on for too long either. So, desk, chair, meeting the same requirements for the display screen equipment regulations. But equally, if people are on the computer and they're doing other work, we need space for that as well. It's about keeping in contact. So we might do that by one-to-one meetings or have those scheduled in and don't keep cancelling them. It could be having team meetings so they interact with other team members as well. It might be giving members of the team tasks that they do with other people. So a little bit of collaboration. So again, they're not always, on their own. It could be hybrid working. So they come working at home, but also coming into the workplace on a regular basis. Considering how we're going to monitor the work, the output, the effectiveness, the quality of the work that the home worker is generating. So again, some companies have got sort of almost software on the system that monitors absolutely everything they're doing. And it's, again, do you need that? Is that putting people under more stress? So they're getting a balance between monitoring. Of course, the employer has to do that, but equally, how far do you go? Do people feel that they can't leave the workstation or stop typing, because they're being monitored like that? We did have one person, I think he constantly kept his finger on the button just to sort of make it look like he was doing thousands of keystrokes, when in fact he wasn't. Equally, monitoring working hours in terms of what's acceptable, what people are expected to work, and that could be working days as well. What days of the week are they expected to log in? Equally, making sure it's not out of sight, out of mind. People have got training and development opportunities, the same as other people who are actually based in the fixed place of work. So thanks very much for watching. A quick take 5 minutes, probably I've gone a little bit over that there, on the issues of health and safety and home working. It's Jackie Cambridge from Cambridge Safety.